Emma the bad guy for not overcorrecting my son for calling someone a ninja. Basically, I was taking a walk to the ice cream shop with my son yesterday. We live in a pretty densely refugee populated town, which I've never had issues with at all. We have made friends with a lot of them. But I will even admit that most of them don't wear hijabs or the full gown looking things. Sorry, I'm insecure of the correct term for clothing. Most of the people came from Africa or Ukraine, but lately there has been a lot of Somalian and others similar that have been upcoming in, and a lot of them wear the hijabs and gowns. So when we were walking, we had run into two women who were wearing the hijabs, and my son very excitedly starts jumping up and down, saying, "Ninja, mama, look!" and pointing. I didn't correct him right on the spot and apologized multiple times to the two women who were looking at me like I'm some sort of a bad guy. But apparently it wasn't good enough or well enough for the standards because they were angry that I still lugged him to the ice cream shop, which was literally 15 feet in front of us. They were apparently going to the same shop because they stood behind us in the line and started talking about how their kids will have gotten the backhand. I couldn't make out everything that were saying due to language barrier, but their English was well enough, where I was able to catch on to a lot of it, and it was just them trash talking me and my son. I got out of the quickly without saying anything because it was kind of intimidating how close they were standing to me and my kid, while blandly shit talking about how they will punish their own children. I brought it up with my roommate when I got home, and she said that I was in the wrong, and I should have brought my 2 years old home immediately because of his mistake. I tried explaining that he's literally two and meant no harm at all. It was exciting thinking it was a ninja and literally doesn't have the ability to make the physical appearance difference because of their attire, but he will learn because I will teach him more and more as he ages. But I was still told I'm wrong and now I feel defeated. Am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for wanting to read Harry Potter to my daughter? My wife and I are fighting right now over my reading aloud to my daughter. My daughter is 8 years old, and I'm currently on the third Harry Potter book with her. We started reading them together last year. I have explained to my wife that it brings me joy and my daughter likes me to read her. It is bonding time between her and I. My wife wants my daughter to be reading at her reading level books that my daughter has picked out. She wants my daughter to not be dependent on me reading to her. At school, her math is her best score, grammar and reading our average in the class. This came to a head last night when I had gone to the park with my daughters and came back home, and my 8-year-old wanted me to read Harry Potter to her. My wife brought up the normal complaints that my daughter should read on her own. My wife is upset that my daughter has not been motivated to read her library books that she brought home from school. My wife states that the only reading source that she wants is Harry Potter at night time. I was upset because I feel like this is my time with my daughter. I sometimes work nights and my wife states my daughter gets weenie when she doesn't have dad reading to her at night. She states that my daughter didn't want to finish her library books unless my wife is strict with her to read the books. My daughter has just finished an 11 chapter book and wanted to have the whole series. I believe that reading to my daughter is good for bonding and doesn't diminish her reading time on her own. So I'm not the bad guy for stating that I will continue reading to her even if my wife wants it to stop. My wife thinks I'm creating a dependent reader and it's my taste, not my daughter's. Is it worth it to give up the bonding and reading time with my daughter to trade for my daughter independent reading? I'm at the bad for wanting my ex-husband to give me a 50% of what the house sells for. My ex-husband and I, both active duty military, divorced after 5 years. I was 25 at that time and he was 28. A new female gets placed in his squad, and I started noticing things were a little off. I came home during lunch and they were eating lunch in our kitchen alone. Odd, because he's an NCO and she's a private, but I believe his excuse. He will drive to her barracks every day to pick her up and drop her off for work. My phone got removed from the Bluetooth list and he struck and was replaced with hers as the primary phone. I deleted hers and added mine. That happened 2 more times. The 18, 19-year-old female get married to some guy in their unit. Due to that, they both needed to move out of the barracks. One day I was at home alone. Her and her husband arrived and they started moving boxes upstairs. I didn't think anything of it, since we were deploying soon, and through they were using our separate bedrooms for storage. She then says, "Thank you for letting us live with you guys." At this point, I'm confused. My husband didn't mention this. I call him and he explains how he thought he spoke with me about it, but he didn't. Then my mother and sister-in-law come over to visit and never left. So at this point, 4 people have moved into our house without my knowledge. I started feeling that distant feeling grow stronger. I spoke with my husband about this. We start arguing over it. We have no privacy before this upcoming deployment, where we will not be together. We come back from 9 days of leave and things are super weird, but yet all 6 of us are in the living room hanging out like normal. Apparently, she got drunk and confessed to her husband about the affair. Her husband told mine he had until tomorrow to tell me. I found out the next day that the whole 9 days they were f***ing and planned to continue it in secret during the deployment. I deployed by myself and did a lot of reflecting. I told him I wanted a divorce and let him keep everything, and I moved to a new state with only my clothes. During the split, I still paid for the electric bill and my half of the mortgage for over a year that I was not living there and we were not together. I told him to refinance and remove me from the mortgage, but he refused since my credit was better. He started missing payments and taking my credit. It's been a year now since we have divorced. He's now selling the house and wants me to sign the broker's paper, and informs me I will only get 10k, which is 9% of the profit. I told him I will not sign unless he agrees to split the costs of repairs and split the profit. He tells me I'm taking advantage of the situation and only see dollar signs. I haven't lived there for a year and that I'm the one that left him. Initially, I was okay with the 10k. I felt bad for him because I know the divorce hurt him, as it hurt me. Talking to my close friends and parents, they convinced me to go for a 50-50. So I'm not the bad guy for wanting to split the profit from him selling the house. I'm not the bad guy for treating my father-in-law like a fool in public. Alright, so husband and I are on vacation with our 4-year-old son, where technically my husband is his stepdad, but he might as well be his biological dad. Husband's parents came as well. I had no issue with this. We get along fine. Anyways, we were all walking around enjoying our time when we saw some young adults dancing really well. My son loves music and dancing, so he was excited and practically begged us to watch them perform. They were great, extremely talented, and my son enjoyed it. The song and dance was pretty feminine, but 2 of the dancers were male. Husband and I thought nothing of this, and neither did my son. But my in-laws were put off. My father-in-law looked a little disgusted for a lack of better words, and he was especially concerned when he noticed my son trying to mimic their dancing. My son was hyped up, and the dancers noticed, I guess so. They thanked him and even engaged with him a bit. It was a lovely sight. Not even going to lie, might have been the best part of the vacation. I've never seen my kid that happy. But after we left and sat down at the restaurant, my father-in-law started ranting about the guy bullshit he had to witness. My husband told him to relax and not swear in front of our son, but father-in-law was pissed. Said that we're being brainwashed and allowing our child to turn into one of them. I rolled my eyes and went, "Boys, that dance, how scary, yeah." My father-in-law was like, "That's not what I mean." So I replied with, "Yeah, my bad. Boys that dance with glitter on, even scarier. I'm traumatized." Then I asked my son if he was traumatized, which he obviously didn't understand, so he just giggled and my father-in-law got up and left saying that he refuses to be treated like a fool in public. Mother-in-law whispered yelled at me after saying I just ruined the trip and I should have just kept my big mouth shut. My husband didn't care and said his dad had it coming, but it did ruin the trip. My father-in-law was pissed at me the whole time and even ranted to a poor waiter the next night about how he gets treated like dirt by his son and daughter-in-law for simply voicing her concerns. He's also insisting that we shouldn't have a mature conversation instead of me mocking him and involving my son. So, am I the bad guy? And also added, yeah, the dance was not sexual or anything like that. It was on the cuter side and what one will stereotype as feminine because of certain gestures and the singer being a woman. The male dancers were also wearing makeup and one had a crop top on, so that furthered the whole feminine dancing thing. I have no issue with any of this and was just providing context. I'm not the bad guy for saying, actually, it's my house. So, backstory. My grandmother passed 2 years ago. A month before she did, we met up for lunch and she told me that she was giving me my mom's inheritance and enough money to cover any taxes on it. I was a bit confused and she explained that she heard my sister talking about putting her in a nursing home and she wanted me to take care of my mom by buying her a house and providing for her. My mom is 58 and has some mental health problems that have gotten worse with age, but well managed with maths. I still pay the taxes and have the house in my name. The issue at hand, I just moved in with my mom after getting a divorce. I took after all the bills and paid for all the groceries. I sat my mom down and told her I'd take one night a week off where I by all means fall off the face of the universe to unwind and get ready for my weekend. I worked 2 jobs. I let her know in Thursday that I'd like to take off. I leave work around 5:30 p.m. and I'll be home at 6:30 a.m. to get the kids ready. She agreed to this. I also let her know my ex had agreed as well to keep up my night off, so if something happens to reach out to him first. This excludes if someone gets sick, hurt, or has to go to the hospital. Well, Thursday is coming, and my mom started asking what my plans are. I told her I don't know yet. She kept pushing, so I asked if I needed to not go out. She said no, but she wanted to know place, time, and people I will be with. My mind blanked, and I said I'm not the 13 years old mom. I don't have to tell you any of that. Just let you know I'm safe. She came at me with my house, my rules. I didn't mean to say hatefully, but it came out wrong. Actually, it's my house, if you want to get technical. She got mad at me and truly started to treat me like a child, yelling and telling me I'm ungrateful for her helping me out. I told her on that day I enjoy my privacy, that even once my ex and I were together, he didn't know where I was and only know I was safe. She said, I'm a bad guy, and that's why me and him are not together. That I was disrespectful to their feelings about my safety. I'm not the bad guy for yelling at my boyfriend, for throwing out my stuffed animals. Me and my boyfriend have had this ongoing argument for the last week. For context, I have multiple stuffed animals around my room. Most of them are just take for fun and to cuddle with, but two mean a lot to me. One I've had since I was 3 years old. The bell was my mom's, and she gave it to me when I lost my favorite dinosaur, stuffed animal I couldn't sleep without. Two is a Build-A-Bear stuffed animal with my grandmother's voice inside. She passed in 2019 from cancer, and the stuffed bunny was a gift from my cousins in memory of her. Whenever I'm upset, I click the paw and listen to her voice. I sleep with these two stuffed animals all the time. Mostly, they bring me comfort and a sense of security. When my boyfriend found out I sleep with two stuffed animals, he said I was immature and needed to stop because he wouldn't want to be with a girl who sleeps with teddy bears. I explained to him that they are very important to me, and he didn't listen, ignoring me every time. We had been having little arguments over this for a couple weeks until I came home from school one day to find him in my room, doing homework on my desk. I said, "Hey, we went about our day." And when I was getting ready to take a nap, I was looking for at least one of my stuffed animals so I could sleep. I asked, "Have you seen my bear or my bunny?" And he looked at me with a blank stare on his face. "I told you to get rid of them. You didn't listen. So I threw them away." I was hurt. One of the only thing I had of my grandmother was gone, and a stuffed animal I have had since I was 3 was also gone. I began crying and telling him to get out, yelling at him because one of my main ways of comfort was gone. And he yelled at me back and said I was being a dramatic bad guy and that I need to stop. After he left, I called some of my friends and told them what happened, and they agreed with my boyfriend that it was just a stuffed animal and that I wasn't a bad guy by taking it so far and screaming at him. I don't think I did anything wrong. I could have been a bit dramatic, but this have a special place in my heart. So I'm at the bad guy for yelling at my boyfriend when he threw out my stuffed animals. I'm at the bad guy for cutting all of my friends off. I cut all my friends off for a couple different reasons. My mom keeps pestering me about them and saying that I can't just cut contact with some friends that were even considered family for years. She thinks it's going too far, and I'm the bad guy for this. I think I'm just walking away from people who cross my boundaries, and that's perfectly fine no matter who they are. For some background, one of them is the daughter of my dad's childhood best friend. She's the one my mom has a bigger problem with me cutting contact with. We were close as kids but distanced ourselves during our teens. However, we grew together after she broke up with my male best friend, and she was going through some shit since he lied to her multiple times about things. Personally, I don't like to mix friends and family, and she was basically family. I was not in contact with my best friend during the relationship. That stemmed from her jealousy, which my best friends confessed to me on a call. To help her through the breakup, I started hanging out with her and invited her to hang out with my friend group. However, being very explicit, I didn't want her to fall for my close friends again, since her relationship with my best friends in the past led to me losing an important friendship. In a month, she was dating my male best friend once again. I lost contact with him after that, but it wasn't something that bothered me much after a while. There was someone in that friend group that was very emotionally abusive towards me, and I went no contact with him. She knew about it, but she downplayed it and said he had no other friends. Not hard to guess why he had known, and felt back to him, so she started hanging out with him. It's fine if people want to cross my boundaries. I can't force them on anyone, so I walked away and got contact with her too. After that, my friend group were childhood friends with my best friend who was now her boyfriend. Started hanging out with them too, and stopped making any effort to contact me. I don't force anyone to stay in my life, and it's been long since I stopped making efforts for people who won't do the same for me. So I went no contact with them too. The friend group broke apart, the Discord server, where we spent the whole quarantine hanging out and went dead. I'm not gonna lie, as much as I can easily walk away from a toxic situation, it still hurt me. I now had 2 friends left, One was almost always gone due to work, which I understand since I've also started working last year, and it gets so tiring to manage your time properly. We still talk though. I think he's the only one I haven't got contact with. The other one is now at also 21s, starting her teenage rebellious phase after their teen year were taken away from them by their narcissist controlling father. Understand that, and I fully support them making mistakes and learn at her own pace. But we are living completely different phases of life. So while I didn't cut contact, I've gone low contact with them for now. I still appreciate them in my life. I've made great friends at work. We can hold 50-50 relationships, put an effort, enjoy a slow life pace, and overall easy to communicate with and easy maintains. I've never felt better in my life than I do now that I have rid myself of old friendships. So, also, I didn't exactly say who she can date. I just informed her what the outcome will be if she date another one of my close friends. That being that I had gone no contact like last time. And also, I've lost one friendship in the past because I didn't put in the same effort they did. I'm fine with it, as I understand their side. At first, I tried reconnecting, but I realized it wasn't healthy for that person who was clearly putting more work than I was. So I accepted it and moved from it. I admit I have a problem in how easily I can cut someone from my life, and I've looked into it to try and understand why. I never had any close or strong bond as a child, not even with my parents since they weren't present and I was left to grow up by myself. I believe that's where it stems from. However, I'm be able to put in the same amount of effort the other person in the relationship does. I'm able to keep close friendships. Never had a problem initiating contact and multiply groups hangouts. I don't have problems initiating conversation after being left unread or delivered either. And if I feel like talking to someone, I will hit them up regardless. But when I realized the other has stopped putting in any effort and left me to carry their friendship alone, that's when I hop out of it. So, am I the bad guy for cutting them off my life?